holding to a strong opinion, whether people like it or not. That is always going to get the most engagement.
Hey guys, this one's fantastic, like truly fantastic. I geeked out on it because I got a chance to meet Drew Gillett. He's the VP of marketing over at Guild, and really one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. But more than that, just so knowledgeable about all the fun stuff of doing mortgages, right? Like knowing guidelines and credit scores and Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, this, that. I mean, that's not the fun stuff. The fun stuff, to me at least, is the marketing side of it. It's the social media side. It's the getting to know people side. It's the how do you develop, trust in this industry. And he breaks it down many times over in every format you can imagine. But really what stuck out to me is like, who do people do business with? People they like, people they know, and people they trust. And then later, towards the end of the podcast, you're going to see how he breaks out each one individually. It's awesome. You guys are going to love this. I promise you. Hey, this is Dino with the Way Podcast, and I got Drew Gillett from Guild Mortgage here. So welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Dino.
So, dude, I have a million questions to ask you, and I think this is going to be one of my favorite podcasts, just because I geek out on everything we're going to talk about. So I'll save it with like what it is, but basically we're going to give somebody a playbook today on how to be more successful as a mortgage advisor. I hate the word loan officer, so I'm going to say mortgage advisor. But before we do all that, who is Drew Gillett, like personally and then professionally?
Yeah. So I'm a Seattle native, up here in the Northwest.
Is that why you're wearing a jacket today and I'm wearing shorts over here?
Yeah, we have all the seasons. A little bit of rain. We have less rain than we tell people because we want to keep it nice and special up here. I grew up as a snowboarder, soccer player, loving the World Cup happening right now. Down the street
it's right now. It's on right now as we're recording. Who knew when we scheduled this?
We're winning. So I hope I didn't just jinx it. But yeah, I mean, that's me. I live here with my wife, just south of Seattle. And then professionally, I'm the VP of marketing here at Guild Mortgage. And so what that means is I work hand in hand with our CMO. We lead marketing, the marketing team that supports all of our 2,000 plus loan officers through strategy, through tools, through training, social media, all kinds of stuff. We have a very strong 55-person team all around the country. We're all remote, all just getting out there and helping loan officers grow.
Nice. I got to tell a Seattle joke.
Go for it.
I went and visited a friend. This was several years ago, but I was up there and it was gorgeous, like just gorgeous. And I kept saying it because all I heard of was the rain and all that stuff. And somebody finally said to me, he goes, Dino, let me explain something to you. Seattle is like the most beautiful woman you've ever seen. She just has a headache most of the time. But when she doesn't, oh my goodness.
Yeah, just during July and August. Yeah.
All right. So I really want to dig into this marketing side, right? There's a successful mortgage advisor has to wear many hats, right? There's how do you do loans? In some cases, you don't even have to know how to do loans. You just have to get the deal in the door, right? And somebody else will do it. I personally believe you should be good at doing loans as well. It'll make you a better overall mortgage advisor. But in this case, getting deals in the door is the battle. Without it, it doesn't matter how good you are, right? So with that said, what do you think is the most important thing out of the overall bigger picture in regards to what you do, that mortgage originators, like they missed the boat on? What did they get wrong?
Yeah, I think what most people are today are getting wrong is that they're not staying consistent. They're trying things, they're seeing a shiny new object. It's so easy to fall into that trap. But when you sit down with, it could be with a coach, it could be with another person in your office or your branch, It could be with your manager, somebody who's saying, you should try this thing. Um, Way too often do I see people giving it a shot, trying it for a week or two, not seeing a result, and then moving on to the next thing.
Um, if somebody was buying leads, I can kind of see that strategy, right? It's like, hey, this didn't work. Can't spend any more money on it.
Mhm.
And but a relationship takes time. It's not an immediate response. And I even I'll bring in another analogy of the blackjack table. Sometimes it's just really hot, then sometimes it goes the wrong way. But if you hang in there long enough, it flips back around. And consistency, I think, is important. When I did play, I would during that moment when I saw that it flipped, but I didn't want to leave because it's been a good table. You just lower your bets, right? And you slow it down a little bit. So weird analogy, but that's what came to mind. So
Good.
consistency, we can play off of that a little bit. Um, what do mortgage advisors need to be more consistent with in order to complete this overall picture of how to get more business in the door?
Yeah. I think the number one thing I see people missing right now is social media. And I mean that in the broadest sense. And I'm not saying like go get on Facebook and start posting. It's bigger than that. Um, and this can be growing your business with referral partners, with agents, and with consumers. I'm not speaking just to like a consumer direct mindset. And so when you are actually out there and you have a digital footprint and you are expressing your personal brand, that's when you start to get traction once you've become consistent and you're following the process. And so that's putting education out there on the mediums that people are looking for it. That's cross posting to multiple networks. That's making videos on YouTube. The number one search engine of Gen Z, uh, but also in a medium that people can share, right? You can have so much more impact if somebody can share content that you've put out with your face, with your voice, and they're going to start getting familiar with you, which is the building block of trust.
Yeah, I love that, and it's interesting. Let's kind of play devil's advocate, and I know it's probably a combination of everything, but YouTube or Instagram?
I would start with Instagram.
Okay, and what's the advantage or the purpose behind Instagram? And then let's flip it and ask us what the advantage. I'll ask what the advantage and purpose is behind YouTube.
Yeah. So Instagram is about entertainment, right? It's short form content. It can be images, but ideally video and reels. Um, but what it is you're starting to slowly inject yourself into people's feeds and be available for people to quickly share to their friends and family. So you're building an online sphere of influence, right? When you're on Instagram. The reason I say start there is because if you haven't started there, you're not practiced, right? And so into something bigger or a little bit more long form, like an 8 to 10 minute video on YouTube, I would recommend starting on Instagram.
It's easier too, right? I mean, you can do something. All the tools are built into the app. Super easy. So, social media for this is a mortgage advisor. Social media for direct to consumer or social media for direct to referral partner.
You have to do content around direct to consumer, but you're probably going to see earlier gains around direct to partner.
And is a strategy of going direct to partner putting out good content that's direct to consumer so you get noticed from that? Or is the content literally how I'm going to help you grow your business because that's what they care about?
Sure. It's a little bit of both, but more of the first one, the content to consumers. Um, because every agent, I mean, I've worked with plenty of agents over the last decade and our loan officers who we have these conversations, right? What do you need from me? Right? Yes, the end goal is to grow your business, but how do you do that? How do I know that you can help me do that? Is if I see you looking like you're doing it for your business. I see you working with other agents, talking at open houses, doing a quick video of something. That that helps me see the validation.
Got it. Are there multiple great strategies, or maybe just a couple, that an advisor should be using in social media to be successful at this?
Oh, that's a complicated question, as simple as it sounds.
I'll tell you why I'm thinking that, right? Why I'm even asking it. On the real estate side,
Yeah.
there's a couple realtors that I see doing stuff really well. For example, they don't talk about housing. They talk about the local something, the big news that just happened within their area. Um, in Newport Beach, there's going to be a new wave pool that's being built in, and this is the arguments against it, and the people this and that. And he does this whole 5-minute deal on it, and it was interesting. I sat and listened to it, and he's got thousands of followers and does very well. So I wonder, as a strategy, and again, now we're speaking a mortgage advisor, do we do a strategy like that? Or is it literally more direct? It's going to come in to punch you in the face because I want your business.
I think it comes down to there are a few, very few core strategies that will work. However, making videos about local content, becoming the mayor of your town on social media is more of a tactic within a strategy.
Okay. Writing that down. I love it. The mayor of your town on social media. I'm gonna steal that one. Okay, so tell me, let's talk about some of the strategies. Let's just
Yeah.
go deep into some strategies.
So, going back to what I said earlier about being consistent and really what you need to be consistent with are what are your content pillars, right? And so if you bounce around and start talking about a bunch of different things, you're talking about products and like different down payment assistance programs for people, you're talking about open houses, you're talking about events in your city, right? You're starting to spread your message thin. And one of the most impactful things on the short form media channels like Instagram, um, is being consistent about that. So narrowing down your topicality. But once you establish that, then you've got a rhythm, right? So you're consistently posting about those things. Then you can start expanding into other ways of driving from that, right? Because I think the other thing that consistency can breed, especially for salespeople, marketers, people who are creative and like always trying to move forward, is that we get bored of our content. I talked about this 5 times last week, right? Like nobody wants to hear this from me. I've talked about it 5 times. But the hard truth is that 99% of people didn't see any of them. And so if you post about it again, they might see that one.
Great point. Never thought about it that way. And you're right. We get tired of our own stuff first.
Yeah.
That's great. Consistency reminds me of I went to a seminar, my favorite seminar. It was a Tony Robbins business mastery seminar over a decade ago. And he told us about this story about a guy that was drilling for oil, and he just kept failing, never hit it. Finally ran out of money, gave up, stopped, sold it. And the next guy comes in, and it was a millimeter away from hitting one of the largest oil strikes. Giving up is something that's in human nature, I think. Very few people have the stamina to continue. And I know just in business, right, you got to have stamina, consistency and stamina. And I say that out loud because I want everybody to know that social media, I mean, I'm in the middle of it. Like I'm doing it. It's like sometimes I'm like, gosh dang, is nobody even seeing these? And then other times, I get a whole bunch of stuff. But what I also realized, I did a full audit recently, and what I realized is nobody, I try not to cuss too much, but nobody gives a shit about all of these little clips that I constantly have, right? It's like they actually like the personal stuff and the personal opinions a lot more than all of the stuff that I'm doing, to be honest, because I'm lazy. I do this long form podcast and I get a million little clips out of it, and I put them on, right? But I think that's lazy. I think I need to get better about coming in with strong opinion and sticking to it, because that actually gets so much more. And then my dog gets more than anybody.
Can't lose with a dog post.
Yeah. So I love how you say that, because I think it's true. And I the encouragement there for everybody is that, you know, it's not easy and it doesn't happen overnight. When you see people that are successful at it, do the research if you want. They've been at it for years. It didn't happen overnight, but I love farming references. Best time to plant a tree was 25 years ago.
Mhm.
If that didn't happen, the best time was yesterday. If that didn't happen, it's today. Do it right now. And that's what you got to start doing with social media. Now, the one thing I'll say, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is that there's these shifts that happen all the time. And you probably have to be up on that a little bit, because what you might be doing that's working all of a sudden stops working. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
I would totally agree. And I think, this can take years, like actual years of investment to actually see meaningful returns from something like putting your personal brand, your life out there on social media, and having this be a business channel that you're focusing on. Over that time, technology changes, consumer preferences change, algorithms change. You're totally right on that. I think the strategy doesn't change, but the way you go about it and some of the tactics or content that you talk about absolutely has to evolve. Just like any of us evolve with anything we do over time, right? You go to the gym and working out, your workout evolves over time. You're learning to play guitar or another new skill. Like you're going to evolve in what you're doing. And you should expect that kind of evolution, right? You don't want to plateau and do the same thing forever.
Um, you can either list the name or just the strategy, but is there somebody that's doing this really well that you admire?
I think a couple of people who are doing this really well. Dustin Brome is a name that comes to mind. He's an agent over at Real. So on the agent side, I think he's a really good example to learn from. He puts out a lot of good educational content around social media and how to leverage it. And then two loan officers come to mind. One is Neil Dingra, big name in the industry, has great content, great strategy, and somebody to emulate. And then a smaller personality, somebody at Guild, who's kind of an up and coming rising star loan officer, is Jake Lambro. He's built a lot of his business on social media. Probably his biggest channel for new and incoming business, agent relationships. Uh, and he's a $40 million a year producer.
Hmm. What's his last name?
Lambro.
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 Okay. I'll check him out. And so let's take Jake, right? I mean, um, first of all, 40 million's respectable, but it's definitely not a big dog. But how long has he been in the business?
6 years.
Not long at all. And how old is he? Approximately?
Young 30s, let's call
Young
it.
30. Okay. So he has some room
Plenty of room.
to really go, right? Okay, so let's just use him as a use case. What's his strategy? What does he do?
Yeah. So Jake does a couple things really well. He has defined his content pillars. He talks about the home buying process. He talks about investment strategy, and he talks about his personal life and being a gym rat and being healthy. He's narrowed it into those columns, and every piece of content you'll see from him is around that.
So, um, content pillars. I used to say pick your lanes.
Yeah.
Like you got to have a few lanes and don't veer out of those lanes, right? Like I like content pillars better. Let's steal that one too. What is and maybe there's no perfect amount, but how many content pillars should one have? What's too many?
I would say 3 to 5. If this is intimidating for you to like write these down, start with 3. You can think about 3 things that you want to talk about. Pick one that's personal for sure. And the other 2 can either be personal or business. At least one has to be business. Um, and then expand and shrink as you see results. But stay consistent about which ones you're on at the moment.
What about what about politics? Do you go to politics or do you just stay away?
So you mentioned like what gets the views, what gets the engagement earlier a few minutes ago. And it's holding to a strong opinion, right?
Yeah, whether people like it or not.
Whether people like it or not. That is always going to get the most engagement. It's the reason that people like shock jocks exist, right? Uh, so when you ask politics, that's a category that immediately falls into opinionated controversy, right? No matter what it is, doesn't matter. Um, if you go there, you can't back away. I would say it is one of the most walking on a knife edge topics that you can do. I think there are much safer and just as effective opinionated topics that you could talk about.
What about religion?
Same thing as politics.
Okay. You brought up a word that I haven't heard in a very long time, shock jocks. Uh, who do you
Am I
think the
dating
greatest
myself?
shock jock of all time is?
The greatest one to me,
Yeah.
Howard Stern.
Yeah, okay. I thought the same exact thing. I haven't heard that term since him. Um, okay, so we got what people are doing wrong. We got what some people are doing right. Um, I, I'd like to focus on doing right.
Yeah.
And I'd like to create, and we already covered it a little bit, but I want to get a little bit more granular with it. And instead of saying a brand new advisor, I think we have a bigger group of struggling advisors, right?
Sure.
Like maybe they know how to do loans now and they got a few deals coming. And it's not about buying leads. They want to, and by the way, I always say a loan officer has a job that's buying leads, and a mortgage advisor has a career, and that's creating, my old coach used to say, stop, stop picking fruit off of trees, other people's trees. Start planting your own, and eventually you'll have an orchard. And then,
Yep.
and if you plant right, again, I'm going back to farming, um, avocado trees. So hard. I've struggled with avocado trees, by the way. But when I planted them, I planted 3 different kinds of avocado trees because you would harvest them at different times of the year. And I thought that's brilliant because if you have 6 trees, there's no way you can eat that many. That's just too many. But if you get them at 3 different times of the year, hey, now we're onto something, right?
Now you've got avocado toast every day.
It's fantastic, right? So let's create an actual plan for the struggling mortgage advisor who wants to make it. And again, we've talked about some of this, but let's just start over. And somebody's coming to you at Guild right
Mhm.
now and saying, "All right, Drew, man, I need some help. I need your magic. How do we lay it out for him? Let's just lay it out."
Yeah, so I think the first thing you should do is take an inventory of the resources available to you. Another thing I see people skipping over way too often is what what do you have as help right now? Um, Nobody is ever a loan officer on their own, right? No matter what company you work at, broker, IMB, direct to consumer, you have a team. And that team is a resource, right? It could be your processor, it could be at a company like Guild, you have a whole marketing team you can lean on. Um, but there are untapped opportunities there that you can take advantage of. So first thing is take an inventory of what tools and help and resources you have available and take advantage of those. Now, depending on what that looks like, it could be you don't have a whole lot. Maybe it's just a couple people that you can lean on. But I think the next thing that you do is take a look at what is and isn't working in your business today. And so it's kind of taking that same inventory, but on a personal level, and evaluating it. If there are things that are not working that you you don't know how to control or you can't control, I think it's also a good chance to look at something like coaching or finding a mentor or a coach who can give you an outside perspective as a professional who's done this before, and really give you some strong advice. After that, then you start getting tactical, right? Those are all the setup things.
Let's get into it now. Um, I'll tell you what, I'm going to be the struggling mortgage advisor. Been in the business for 4 years. I have a young family. I'm in my, let's call it late 30s. And I have social media. I have Instagram and I have Facebook. Uh, Even though a guy that young probably wouldn't have Facebook, but that's what I got. And I need to build a reputation for myself so that realtors, financial planners, CPAs, and attorneys, which is my target, they're going to say, that dude knows what he's talking about, and I want to refer my clients to him. So that's my strategy or my want, right? That's my business plan. Help me to actually create a model specifically with social media
Sure.
on how to create that image for them to view me that way.
So the
Sorry, I'm
first,
putting you on the spot
yeah,
quite a
no, no,
bit,
this is
but
totally fine. The first thing that I think that situation, what you would do is you just identified kind of your target audience of who you want to go interact with. The only reason any of them will want to work with you is because you're solving a problem for them, right? So you have to first figure out, how are you defining the problem they have as the villain in the story? And then how are you the solution to that problem and helping them get there? Right. So work on how you're going to approach that idea. Um, and so if you're working, say you want to start with financial planners first.
yeah. And by the
What?
way, if you want to flip the script back on me and ask me questions, like I don't know if this is how you would do it with somebody that you're working with. We can just role play it all out if you want.
We'll do it. So you want to work with financial planners first, right? Um, what are some of the problems that you think they have that somebody in mortgage could help with?
I think they view themselves as a higher profession, and they view too many of the loan officers as somebody that doesn't really know what they're talking about, and they're scared to refer somebody because it's their reputation, right? It's their client, and there's the way they've explained it to me is there's not very many loan guys out there that are of their caliber.
Okay. And so you just identified the problems that they may have in working with you, right? And so you're addressing the fear that they may have that gets in the way of you developing a relationship in that space. The first thing that I would say on social media that you would approach is write those problems down, figure out questions and answers that address those problems. So they have a fear that you're going to step out of your lane around financial advice, right? And so you start creating content on a daily basis. Just record a 1-minute video every day for the next week on where you've given good, solid financial advice, where you haven't stepped out of the bounds, and where you've referred people to a financial planner. And so you just start telling those stories, right? And they can frankly be made up. Um, but they just need to show that you know what you're doing and that you're gonna do these things, and you start building kind of that first narrative.
So I'm gonna just keep role playing. So here's what I was thinking, Drew. I thought, boy, their job is to create wealth. My job is to get rid of debt. So I'm more of the debt guy because if I can decrease their debt or get rid of it altogether, then it gives them more money to spend with their advisor on building wealth. So I was thinking I should probably start coming up with things that you know advertise it that way, right? That I know my lane and I work with professionals that know their lane. My goal is to help them excel in their lane because they can't do that unless I do my job better.
Yeah, I think that's a great place to start. I mean, another way you could say it is leveraging debt for financial independence, right?
Okay. Well, we got that. We got that one. So now, so Drew, you're telling me I got to do a video every day,
Mhm.
which I'll do. I'll do whatever you tell me to do, Coach. And do I post that just on Instagram, or do I post it on Facebook too, or do I need to do this whole TikTok thing too? Because do financial advisors really look at TikTok?
You know, that's a great question, but what really matters is where are people of kind of the demographic that are surrounding those people looking at content. Um, a financial advisor may never use TikTok, but if their kid's always on it and they're trying to learn things so they can show off to their parent, they may see one of your cool videos and send it to them, right?
So
So
you
there's
think I
always
should just
opportunity.
go ahead and do all of them?
Yeah, I think you should just do all of them. It's not that hard to just click through 3, right? It takes about the same amount of time as it did to record your video.
What about X?
X is much more headline based, so like one line punchy statements. If you're a natural writer, then it might make sense. So with threads, uh, but if you're not, it's not going to change your business.
And then do you think I should go ahead and throw that on as a short on YouTube as well?
Yeah,
So just so every day throw one on YouTube as well.
yeah, and
Is-
you cross populate these, so you can do it at the click of a button too.
Okay. Okay, cool. So that's financial advisors. Um, Now I really want to attack realtors because everybody I talk to that's successful says that's where they get all their business. So how do I
Yeah.
go after realtors?
So, I mean, there's a few different ways, but first part is doing content. Um, the second easiest thing you can do is, give away your time. Whether it's showing up at open houses, which still works, right? Just don't be weird. Um, make content there while you're there, right? You're just going through a financing scenario for this property. You ask them if you can film some content in the house, and once you do it, a few times you get comfortable. Then you start asking those agents who are there if you can do it with them, and now you're creating content together, and then you send it to them. Now you've just done something where it's like, hey, that didn't really take any effort. It didn't cost anything. I had a good time with this person. You're starting to build a relationship. Way easier than randomly asking people want to go to coffee.
Yeah. It's brilliant, man. I haven't thought about it because I haven't done open houses in over 20 years, but the reality is a realtor sitting in an open house, person comes in, does content and mentions them. That's like an honor, right? Like it's a positive for them. So there's no reason why they wouldn't want to. So here's
Yeah.
my question for you now. Man, I don't really have a following. I don't have any. I only have like 300 followers, and it's just like my buddies and all that. It's almost embarrassing though when people look me up and I don't have any followers. What do I do there?
Yeah. Um, followers in particular has kind of fallen off as a metric. Um, as you said, things change. The algorithms have changed. Your content's going out to more than your followers. Frankly, your followers probably see it less than strangers. But when it's a vanity metric, right? When it feels like somebody might be judging my content based on my number of followers. The the easy answer for me to say is just ignore it and keep pushing through. Um, but if that's what you're going for, there are ways to attack, how can I get more followers? You can get more followers by, running some paid boosts and ads on your content. You can get more followers by going out and commenting on other people's stuff and following them, shooting them DMs and saying, "Hey, I love your content. You want to check out mine? Here's a video I think you would like." Um, it's just like networking in any other system.
I've never actually heard it put that way, but you're right. It's networking, right? It's
Yeah,
just different. You're not going to a BNI meeting. You're just doing it there. That's brilliant. Here's another one for you. So, dude, do I need to find like this fancy, handle, like maybe Loans by Dino, or should I just put my name on it?
Uh, I mean, it does matter, but it doesn't matter more than your content. I mean, you can set it up with your name, where you work, your license number. And that's kind of the starting point, right? Um, if you want to optimize your profile and you're really getting into this and you're committed to this as a channel, there are definitely ways that you can enhance that. So all depending on what network you're on, different elements of that are searchable. So if somebody is looking for a loan officer, looking for mortgage broker, having those in your profile, in your title, that can make it pop up. But at the end of the day, it's not gonna change your reach of your content.
Got it. Okay. Here's one for you. Interest rates are dropping.
I wish.
I know. I do too. But for the sake of the show, interest rates are dropping. I want to go on there and I want to start. I'm going to say, hey guys, interest rates are dropping. This is the time. We've all thought this, like, oh, they're going to keep dropping more. And then what happens? Rates go up. So I'm telling you right now, don't wait. This is the time. Refinance. Interest rates are at 6.25% right now, and I can get you a 2-1 buy down. That means that you're going to start at 4.25%. That's going to be your start rate. Is that a good video?
I would say any content you put out is a good video. Is it a great video and a great framing? I would not say yes.
Ooh. So tell me why. And by the way, I'm testing you right now. I have something back here that I'm going to bring up. If you don't, I'm curious.
So in timely events, it's always great to get the message out as many ways as you can. That's why I think it's good for you to post content like that. What I would improve is you mentioned two jargony things. One, rates. Two, 2-1 buy down. Most people don't know what a 2-1 buy down is. If they know anything about it, they might think it's a fixed or a variable rate loan arm, right? Um, which it kind of is, but not exactly the same. Either way, nobody knows what it is, right? So you just triggered somebody with jargon, and they're not really paying attention anymore. They think you're in loan talk and you're above them. Um, the important message is, come talk to me now. Things are moving in the right direction. Let me hear about your situation, your goals, and see if I can save you some money.
So I got to say too, just because company, man, it drives me insane. Just don't talk about interest rates.
100%.
Like for compliance purposes, you guys just don't talk about interest rates. Say rates are dropping if you want, but don't mention a darn rate and try and stay away from fees.
Well,
It's
and the other challenge with social media, it is kind of ephemeral, right? It goes through the feed and you get the next day's videos or whatever. But these networks love to pop stuff up 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later. You just made a piece of content that you could never pin,
yeah,
right?
yeah, it's a good point. It's a good point. Great point. The timely thing. So here's another thing that I recently, as in my effort to redo a bunch of my social media, now that I have, some time behind me where I can analyze everything. There's in Instagram specifically, uh, and jump in whenever you want or tell me I'm wrong here. It's supposed to be there, whatever. Uh, you go to Reels. So you go to your profile, you swipe over to Reels, and then you go to I think you swipe up a little bit, and there's something called Insights, and you look at your insights, and there's a couple metrics that you need to pay attention to. There's the skip rate, and the skip rate just very simply means one thing: they look at it and they swipe it away. They don't even bother listening. And the other thing is the average time that they actually watch the reel. And the way I understand it now is that um, if the average time is 3 seconds, then your hook is terrible, and you got to first work on that. So I don't. I'll be the first to admit that I haven't been very good at that. I have to start being a little bit more purposeful, actually think it through a little bit instead of just wing it all the time, and come up with the hook and say it, right? And then the next metric is, how do you keep them on for at least 10 seconds? And if you can do that, you've probably accomplished more than most people have. But I believe consistency is super important. But at some point, you got to go back and look at your metrics and decide, can I do just a little bit better? Just a little bit. And if you can do just a little bit better, it's amazing with the same amount of effort, how much more output you can actually have.
100% agree. You nailed it. And you're getting into kind of the 201 level of this loan officer who's trying to expand their business and like what they can do on social media, right? Starting to tweak what you've been doing. You've now jumped in. You're doing the thing. Now you're starting to optimize it, right? You're starting to get a little bit better at what you're doing and looking at what you're doing as a hook. One thing that me and my team, I have a great social media team and people that I've worked with. If doing the hook is hard, just record it separately. So do your whole video and you're like, "Man, I forgot the hook. Do I have to do this all over again?" No, just go record a hook and then slap it on the front of your video and have it flow in.
Didn't think about that either. Gosh, somebody should be paying you a lot of money for this, Drew. Okay, so going back to me being the struggling advisor, we've gotten, pretty good here. I'm now doing content every day. I'm getting more and more familiar with it. I've realized that I could be doing it better than I have been. So it's time to start tweaking the things a little bit. We've talked about, throwing the hook on there and starting to look at your metrics a little bit. Um, what is the optimal time of a reel? 20 seconds, 30 seconds?
It can depend on what you're talking about, but you never really want to be more than a minute and 10 seconds.
Okay. And if you're going to cross populate that across all the different platforms,
Mhm.
I know they're all a little bit different, but a couple things to think about, I think, is to me a reel on Facebook or Instagram, 30 seconds is actually pretty good, right? Because attention span's low. But is that too short of a time for YouTube? Should they be just a little bit longer there?
Yeah. Um, so YouTube Shorts, you want to keep between 30 seconds and a minute, very similar to Instagram, right? Very similar to Reels. But for YouTube main, and where you really start clocking in watch time and people paying attention and people really diving in, because YouTube is one of the most used search engines in the world, um, especially generationally. Like people are going in there and asking the same questions you and I would ask Google or ChatGPT or something else, and they're
My
using
kids
video to
do
learn.
that all the time. My
Yeah,
wife thinks they're just like being degenerates, right? And I'm like, buddy, that's no different to them. Like you use Google. It's the same
right.
thing, right?
They're just consuming it in video content, right, as opposed to reading the page. And so the content you want to put on YouTube for the main bulk of what you're doing is between 8 and 12 minutes.
Okay. Um, I think I got a lot on the social media stuff. I ended up going there maybe for too long. I don't know, but I do want to get to the other side of everything you do. And as
I
I'm
was gonna
sitting here,
say,
like,
we've been talking about social media a lot. That is one aspect of what you should have as your business. I just wanna throw it out there as a disclaimer, like, getting in person, getting out there physically in the world, equally or more important from, like, an actual growing your business standpoint.
yeah, here's how I've always positioned it when when I speak to new people. I say, this is your chance to decide who you want the world to think you are. And you need to know who that person is first.
True.
And once you decide that, you can, if you want, you can start all over again. But stick to your lanes, know who that is, and be true to yourself about who that person is, right? You can't just all of a sudden start doing this and doing that if it doesn't represent who you are. Right? So one time there was an attractive female real estate agent that I worked with, and she was on the younger side, so she was somewhat new, and she was coming to me for a little bit of coaching. Right, she would give me business and all that, but she would also just ask me questions all the time, and I said, well, so do you want to know the truth? My wife wouldn't let me work with you if I wanted to buy a house. She goes, why? I'm like, well, go through your Facebook. At the time, it was Facebook. I go through your Facebook. You got all these pictures of you in a bikini at a rave. No wife will let her husband work with you. I mean, you got to like maybe audit your history a little bit so you can clean that up, because you are being a professional. That's what you should be when you're doing this. If you're a goofball, it's okay. Like, that's also a strategy. And if you're a good goofball, people will like that, right? Like attracts like. But there's a mortgage advisor that I know very well, and he's the greatest guy. Like, love the guy. Everybody loves him. But he really struggled with actually like making it, with doing super well in the mortgage industry. Not because he didn't know how to or anything like that, but because he was everybody's best friend at the bar. He
Yep.
was the jokester at every party, right? And everybody loved him. But when you're dealing with money, there is a piece there that people want to trust you. So I think the number one thing is not how good you are at doing a loan, it's how trustworthy you appear. That's the number one thing. You know, a little bit of personal, right? I went through a divorce way back years ago now, but I went through a divorce, and there was a period where, granted, it was after 2008, so business sucked for a while and all this other stuff. But I came to like the realization that I wasn't as trustworthy as I was the prior years when I was married. I didn't wear a ring back then, because it was in that in between period, right after the divorce. Pictures of me on social media were on a boat or at a party or something. I was like, huh, kind of funny how they go hand in hand, right? But all of a sudden, I decided to get more conservative again and not do all that kind of stuff and post more pictures of my family, my kids, and then I get married again. I put a ring on, and my email signature picture is the family, not the me
Yep.
picture. And just like that, man, it was like trust was visible again.
I mean, you're hitting on a few great things. That there's the common phrase, you work with people who you know, like, and trust. And it's and, not or. Um, and so you touched on people who you know. So you're getting out there, you're putting content out, people start to know you. People start to like you because you're fun, you go out and do things with them. There's somebody who you would want to have a drink with at a bar. Like you said, you're not required to show all of those moments. You can just be fun in person. That's fine. And then trust, right? So, how are you balancing that with your professional image? The image you put online is your professional image. I love what you were talking about with you control your personal brand. What you put out there online is what people will perceive about you. And you have full control of that. It's a crazy idea, but you have control over what you put out there. You can tell the stories you wanna tell. It's a immense amount of power that you have over that perception.
Speaking of personal brand, Katie introduced us, right?
Katie Shive, yeah.
Katie Shive. What's the name of her company? Do you know
Oh,
offhand?
I don't know, man.
Because I want to give her a plug right now because she is amazing. I love Katie Shive,
Mhm.
and she has her company. Are you looking it up?
I am.
We need to tell everybody about it. Well, it's katieshive.com.
It is katieshive.com. Just go to katieshive.com. Look her up
SHIVE.
anywhere. She's all over.
Yeah, she's all over. And at the end of the day, she's a personal brand expert, and she's developed some software and AI type stuff where you work through a whole bunch of stuff, and it's not easy. You got to work through it, but
Yep.
it helps you to create this personal brand and then have a strategy in place afterwards. So here's Katie. Go look her up. KATIESHIVE.com. You'll love her, by the way. Everybody loves Katie. Like, I don't know anyone who doesn't love Katie. And then you said something, when you said it, people, work with somebody they know, like, and trust. And one thing that I will say right now is that it's kind of weird sometimes, but I think it's real. People feel like they know me because they see me on social media all the time.
100%.
Although I have no idea who they are the majority of the time, but yet they feel like they know me. And that means it works. So I still think belly to belly is the absolute best thing you could ever do, but this really is the next best thing. And people will view that as belly to belly. I mean, that's how my kids view it now. That's just like the new reality.
Yeah. Well,
So
and frankly, jumping back to one thing you said earlier, like how do you show agents that you're worth working for just by posting on social media? If you're doing that, they see you putting in the work. They see that you are working on your business. You could have 0 loans for the last 3 months, but if you're consistently doing that, you're creating this image that they know that you're somebody who puts in the work.
yeah. And the reality is that is no different than how it was 28 years ago when I started. It and somebody told me this back then. Make sure every one of those realtors sees you everywhere they go because they're going to know you're the hardest working guy out here, and that's going to earn their business. So what does that mean? It meant going to the open houses, going to all the realtor events, going to the broker previews. It's going to where they are, and it's the same thing in social media. Be the
Yeah.
hardest working guy out there. So let's get out of social for a minute. Okay. Like
Yeah.
let's be done with that. I know it is a strategy. We went there, we dug deep into it, but it's a big strategy, right? There's a lot that you can do with it. But now let's shift a little bit. I know we talked already about, putting the work in, going to open houses, right? Doing certain things like that. Uh, what about AI? Where do we go with that? Lead that conversation down a road for us.
Yeah. So AI, if you haven't started using, which I still find it surprising that there are people in our industry who haven't at least dipped their toe. Give it a shot, right? It's just another tool in your tool belt. It's nothing to be scared of. It's not going to bite you, and it's not going to take your job. Um, so leverage AI in a way like it is a tool. It's a tool just like you might have that you can create flyers in, or a tool that helps you run pricing scenarios that you built in Excel, right? AI is just there to help be your assisted brain. One thing I used to do when I was doing a lot more creative work is I would get stuck. I would have writer's block, right? And I would have all these different tactics and things that I would do to try and get out of writer's block. I would go distract myself or go read a book I haven't read in 10 years or, take a walk outside and try and clear my mind. AI can be another one of those tools because we all get writer's block in some form or another. And all you got to do is ask. You just got to ask it for help. Like, I'm stuck on this. What should I do? And it'll give you a bunch of feedback. Like, it wants to talk to you.
Yeah, I mean, if your love language is words of affirmation or quality time, just get on AI, you'll get all of it.
Sure. And
Uh,
if you're the opposite and you're a glutton for punishment, you could tell it to do that too, and it will.
yeah. What about blogging? What's your
Yeah.
thought process on that?
Um, Blogging is just another form of content, but it is a particular form of content for AI. It's very easily digestible. I think that blogging was hot when the internet was just coming out, Google was coming into fashion, and, like, people needed content because it didn't exist. And so you could carve a niche just by writing about things. Then it kind of faded because it got too populated, right? And we're in a similar position now where it's like, are we gonna go back to that with AI slop and all that? Um, but writing as a person and, like, putting your own words on paper, totally fine to be AI assisted and, like, use it in the process, but with your thoughts, with your judgment, with your edits, and with your human anecdotes, like, it's okay to misspell things. Nobody cares anymore. You can really carve a niche in AI search, which is where things are going.
So one of the things I've been blogging a lot in the last probably 6 months. I'm trying really hard to do exactly that, right? And I'm sure a lot of you guys already know this, but we'll just go ahead and say it anyway. The way people search is fundamentally changing. It's no longer best mortgage broker in Orange County, right?
Keywords.
What's
That's what it
that?
used to be. Because we
Yeah,
figured out how Google worked.
yeah. And now, like I on the real estate side, it's like I'm looking for a 3-bedroom house. I needed to have a west facing, view. The living room has to be bigger than the closet and blah, 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 right? Whatever you want to say. And that's how people search now. I mean, I don't ever, it just, I say everything I want to say before I get an answer. And I think it's getting more and more into that now. So from my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, that's where blogging comes in.
Mhm.
That's how you get that out. But one of the things that actually just learned, I think Katie's the one that taught me this, it's also consistency. So if you are all over the place trying to touch upon everything, you're not going to be considered the resident expert on anything. But if you stay in these lanes and you're like constantly saying the same things in different ways, now you are the person that's going to pop up for that particular thing. Is that accurate?
Yeah. The cool thing for me, having been in the marketing space for quite a while, um, is it's coming back to some fundamentals of what search is really meant to be. And so what you're talking about is expertise, right? So EEAT or EAT is like a core SEO thing. And AI search has it as well. It stands for experience, expertise, authority, and trustworthiness. And so that's what the engines are looking for, right? One of the interesting things about how this has changed and how blogging really helps is it used to be if you want SEO, you have to pay for backlinks, people to link to your page. And then Google, the search engine, can crawl that link and find the connection. Now it's about mentions. So all somebody has to do is mention you, mention your company, mention your team. And the more people do that, the more authority you have because people are associating you with whatever content is on their page. And you don't need that backlink strategy, which became very, very expensive to try and do. Um, but you putting content out there, others putting content out there about you, um, is what really drives that.
Got it. And now, does that count if that's done on social media, or does it have to be on a website or blog somewhere?
100%. It counts on social media.
So AI will read through all the Instagram posts.
Yeah, anything that's public. It can be Instagram, it can be LinkedIn. I also throw Reddit into social media. Highly underused tool, but one of the most powerful. Yeah.
I hate looking at Reddit. Like it's just one of those things where I've done it a couple times when I needed to like fix a problem, and all I got was just like a million people saying all these things, and I got nowhere after spending 30 minutes trying to figure it out.
Well, Dino, I got this problem and I'm trying to figure it out. I went to my bank and they told me that I couldn't get a loan to buy this house. And they said it was because I had a low credit score. So I'm going to go ask the internet on Reddit, what can I do? And you know what? Somebody could pop in there and be like, hey, did you know that, there are some changes or there's some other programs available? Um, do not sell when you're writing this message, but you should probably talk to a local mortgage lender who may be able to help you with that. Signed my name.
Yeah, yeah. I've actually heard of mortgage advisors that spend their time in Reddit. That's all they do, and they get deals left and right out of that. Has anybody ever told you you got one of those voices that is really soothing and could probably sell anything?
Not quite like that. Although I did get off stage one time and somebody came up to me and they said, I just want you to be the voice on my audiobooks.
That's great. That's great. Okay, so let me see. What time is it? We've been going at it for a little while. If you have a little bit more, because I honestly don't want to let you off unless you have to.
Nah, you're my last meeting of the day, man.
Excellent. So you're mine as well. So let's keep moving then, just a little bit
Yeah.
more, right? Like let's round it. Let's round it about because being successful in the mortgage industry is not about doing one thing and one thing only. It's about
Mhm.
doing several things, right? But I do think you have to be really great at least one thing, and then be good at a couple more. And even if you're kind of crappy at a couple, get away with it, right? But what's the other piece, right? We talked about social, we talked about AI,
Yeah.
we talked about like in person type stuff. Is there another thing that we're missing?
I would say the other thing that I run into more than I wish I did is treat it like a career. I think this is a challenge not just in mortgage, but in every industry surrounding it. Um, if you think of anybody in your mind, you're like, oh, they have a really strong career. What is their work ethic like? When do they show up to the office? When do they clock out? Do they, work towards a work life balance? What helps them move up? Do they have to go get promoted? Do they have to talk to a boss? Do they have to, put a pitch together? It could be a startup, anybody you can think of. But too often I see people treating it like, oh, I got into this because I didn't think I had to work 8 to 5. I didn't think I had to come into an office all the time. Um, and it's just the wrong approach. I think you need to really get in that headspace of like, are you in this for the long term? And it's not just showing up to the office. The other thing I mean by that is be intentional about where you work. If you think of it as, oh, I can just show up to the office when I need to. Otherwise, I'm just going to be out trying to meet agents and grow my business. That can work, but you have to structure it like a business because this is your business. Um, and you can't treat it like, oh, I'm just going to join this company for a year or two because they're going to give me a signing bonus, or if you're not even in that space, like just stick it out because they're going to give me some free stuff and while I look for something else. The longer you find the right home, the more successful all those things will pay dividends.
Yeah, and I would say alignment is very important to work with a company that is both morally aligned with your values, but also the way of doing business, right? Like for
Yep.
me, it's how I when I was doing loans, and I still am. I just don't do them anymore, if that makes sense. But what was super important to me was how my clients got treated. It was
Yep.
the thing that I cared most about. And I'll tell you what, if anything ever went wrong, nobody was going to call them except for me. Like they had to hear from me if there was an issue. And by the way, you guys, every difficult phone call is more difficult tomorrow. Just remember that. Like, don't put it off unless you have a solution and you know damn well it's going to happen. But if their moving truck can't show up, you better tell them. Don't wait until the day of, right? Like that's just silliness. Anyways, alignment in all the values I think are super important because when you are with a good company, it will go further. And I when I recruit, I say it all the time about various things because I'm trying to get the people to come in and it's like IMBs, my goodness, they're just charging so much money. You got, all these people that are collecting on your dime and you're the only one and it's true, but they also offer a lot that brokers don't offer. And I'll be the first person to say that. So think through all that stuff because not everybody can be successful in my broker space because they're so used to having their handheld or they're used to having a team of people that just do everything, right? We don't get a Drew Gillett in our broker space. Are you kidding me? That's going to cost us money. So, but it's how cool is it that somebody at Guild can just go to you and you help them.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people at places like that. So, anyways, a little bit off topic there, but I think you're right about that. Man, thank you. But before I let you go, I got two last questions.
All right.
What's your favorite book or books?
So my favorite book is actually a book series. It's The Wheel of Time by Robert Jordan. It's a fantasy book series. Uh, I started reading it in high school or college, and I liked it so much I got a sleeve tattoo based on the book series.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Come on.
So it goes all the way from here. Had to get
Uh-huh.
the appropriate work appropriate 3/4 sleeve. It
Yeah.
goes all the way up. Yep.
Whoever would have thunk by looking at you. So, The Wheel of Time by who?
Robert Jordan.
Okay. I'll check it out.
Now, if you want to know what my like business book is, because I interchange between when I'm reading books for fun, which I still find lots of value in, right? the story arcs and like the balance between the hero and the villain. But the business book I like the most that I recommend everybody read um, is about building a story brand. And the story brand book, I think there's a collection of them now. You can find it online if you look up story brand SB7. It's really a methodology for how you can run a brand and a business by using the right words. One of the easiest ways to remember it is, and I think I said something like this earlier, there's a hero and there's a villain. Your customer isn't either. Your customer has a problem and that's the villain. You have to be the hero who solves that problem. And there are ways to approach that. And in the way you say things matters. We have been in business for 60 years. Guild. Who cares about that? Nobody. You're not building a story. You're talking about we. I can help you get into a home. Right. Now you're solving a problem. You're building a narrative around the story and the villain that they have. They want to get out of renting and they want to own a home. They want to have their own space that they're in charge of. And so you can flip these things and frame them in the right way. But it's got a really, really strong framework that I think anybody who's in marketing and sales and leadership should read.
Taking some notes. I like that. Okay. All right. And then have you ever done loans?
Never done loan.
Never. All right. Well, here's the last question and my favorite. You're going to do loans. You got to. You got all the knowledge you have with your marketing background and working in a mortgage industry, right? Like so, but you now have to go do loans. So here's the deal, man. I'm going to take you, I'm going to pick you up, I'm going to drop you off somewhere in the United States where you don't know anybody and you don't really have any money. I'm going to give you an allowance that's just enough to cover your expenses and maybe a couple little things so you can get things going, right? But that's it. No big fancy marketing budgets and all that kind of stuff. Grassroots type stuff. And here's the kicker. Do you have kids?
I don't. I have dogs.
Dogs. Okay. Well, you can't visit family or dogs until you make $1 million doing loans. What does that look like for you?
So the first thing I would do is go find successful people in my area. They can be, and that can be relative, right? In mortgage and in real estate. I would work on trying to work my way into their circles as fast as I could. I would also start getting to know local business owners. Like, you give me a small allowance. I don't know how much I'll have to spend through on this budget, but sometimes spending that in the right place makes all the difference. So being a nice person while you're doing it, going out there and trying to make connection with local coffee shop owners, local sandwich store owners, sign up to be a part of the local wine club if that's in your downtown, and really just starting to meet people and getting out there. Because again, it's about know first, right? Then you have to build that then you have to build that trust. So you start getting out there. That's what I would do, is start building in person all of those things while doing what we just talked about, doing things like posting. I'm new in the area. Can anybody tell me where I should go for whatever? Where are the best Mexican restaurants? So that you start getting involved in Facebook groups or local community subreddits or things like that. So your name starts popping up in these areas. Now that I'm starting to do that, I've established myself with some of these local businesses. I've tried to make inroads with agents and loan officers who are successful in the area. I've set up, kind of my initial social presence. Then I would decide, am I really committed to making this work and doubling down on all of this stuff? And sometimes the answer is no. At that point, I might try and get recruited onto one of these successful teams.
You know what, man? I loved the framework, and I know we talked about it, but the know, like, trust. But I've actually something clicked. I'm I'm going to put something together for all my guys and break it down that way. Know, like, trust, right? Like, meet people, get involved, be nice, do good things, right? It's not hard.
It's all common sense.
It really is. And here's the deal. I think social media is important. You got to do it. It'll just put gasoline on top of it all.
Yep.
And I think AI is important because, number one, it is a second brain. It'll help you get there so much faster and help you work through, issues and prepare things that are super nice for presentations or whatever it might be. But that's a great framework. I've never actually thought about it that way, because whenever I ask somebody this question, they go into things, but this is explained. I love it. Great job.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I really enjoyed having you here. Miss Katie Shive. Shives was 100% right that I would like you and that you would be a huge value add to the show. So I really do appreciate it.
Well, I'm frankly just happy to share this stuff. These are kind of the conversations that I have frequently with our team members. I'm just happy to be able to share it with more people.
Yeah, no, this is great. And a lot of people will hear it. I honestly don't even know how this happened, but like the podcast has taken off and it's just getting thousands and thousands of downloads now every single week. So it's really cool to see that happen. So you will be heard, my friend. You will be heard. And guys, thank you so much for listening. Thank you for being a part of. Don't forget, go in there, comment. I love hearing what you guys have to say. So do comment for me. If you have suggestions, ideas, feel free to throw them out at me. And what I'm most excited about is that we are going to be starting season 2 pretty soon. I don't know what we ended season 1 with, but somewhere close to 70 podcasts. And then this great idea came about, and every single podcast is going to end with an official playbook, a downloadable playbook for you guys, broken out, like we just did with Drew here. He's still going to be in season 1, but this is what I'm talking about. Drew gave so many examples of what you can do. It's just going to be, season 2 is going to be a little more thought out so that a playbook can be developed at the end. And this is going to be for your guys' benefit, something that you can take as actionable steps to implement into your business immediately, something that will help you guys get better at what you do. So thank you. We love you. And we will see you guys next time.